The last piece to the puzzle. Once upon a time, there was a criminal detective named Kaido. He was 27 and had resolved many cases regarding suicide, murder, etc., and had quite a good reputation for himself. You see, when Kaido was 5, his single mom, who was 21, decided to abandon Kaido, and she felt that having a child would make it hard for her to get married. So one day she took Kaido out on the street and told him to stay there while she goes to get something. But she never returned. After a few days, Kaido had come to realize what his mother did. So he set off. Kaido didn't know much about the place and started crying. An old lady found him and gave him some sweets. Kaido took the sweets and started feeling dizzy. What he did not know was that the old lady had drugged him. When he woke up, he found himself in a room, but the room was locked, and the sound of someone walking was heard. The door opened, and the old lady was standing with an iron rod in her hand. "You'll be working for me and me only," she said. "And if you disobey me," she said, looking at him in his cold and straight face, "you will be punished." Saying this, she left the room. 6 months had passed. Kaido was serving this woman day and night, 24/7. And if he hadn't listened to her words, he was beaten with the iron rod. His body would tremble with fear every time he was with her. One day the old lady had to go away from home, so she locked the door and left, leaving Kaido behind. Kaido felt safe without the woman. He opened the window to feel the fresh air. "Oh, how lovely it feels," he said. Suddenly, he heard a woman scream. A woman was being robbed, and right when he saw the woman, he saw a policeman save the woman and hit the robber. To him, the policeman seemed like a hero who could save him. So he started screaming too. The policeman rushed up the building and broke open the door. He asked Kaido if he was okay. "Please take me home," said Kaido. The policeman asked Kaido what happened. The policeman asked Kaido what happened. Kaido told him the whole story. The policeman took Kaido out of his house. He made Kaido sit in his car and took him to the police station. Then the police officer got information on his mom and took him home. On reaching home, they found his mother with another man. Kaido saw the man and said, "This is not my father." The man looked at Kaido's mother and said, "You have a child?" Kaido's mom said, "This is not my child." Kaido started to cry. On seeing this, the policeman realized that Kaido's mom didn't want Kaido and she wanted to get rid of him. So he told her to come outside. When she came outside, he asked her if he could adopt Kaido. She readily agreed, and the next day the necessary requirements was made and Kaido was adopted by the policeman. After that day, Kaido had decided that he would keep, just like the police, he would help people. He was educated well by the policeman and became a well-known detective, as we know. So Kaido and his team had just completed solving a case and were having a party at a restaurant. Down the hill, Kaido was on his way when he heard a sound. A sound of a girl. A sound of a girl crying. He stopped and tried to look for the sound. The sound seemed like it was coming from a lane. He headed towards it, and the sound grew louder and louder. The closer he got, he was in, the closer he got, the louder the sound became. He got closer and closer. He was an inch away from the lane when his friend called to him. He was he went towards his friend and thought of coming back to the lane once he was done eating. But he ended up completely drunk and his friends had to take him home. In the morning when he woke up, he forgets everything about the girl and switched on his TV, put on the news channel. On the news, man found almost dead in the forest claims to have followed a girl who was crying before becoming unconscious. Now back to reality. Just then, Kaido remembered about the little girl. Just then, he got a call from his office, from his team, to report to the same forest that was on the news. When he got to the forest, he saw his team examining a dead body of a man. They told him that after they told him that after in the case there was on which was on the news, they had come to investigate this place and found the body buried 6 feet deep under the soil. The body, according to the examinations, was unconscious when it was killed, and that it was stabbed once in the heart, killing them on the spot. Kaido was called by one of his team members. They had discovered another body. After the body was examined, they found out that the person was murdered the same way as the first one, except was stabbed 4 times in the heart. After that, they contacted the family and informed them about their family members' deaths. They also gathered information on the people and their family. They seemed pretty ordinary. They seemed like pretty ordinary people living an ordinary life. They did not have any criminal records and their families seemed innocent too. So Kaido went home and on reaching home, he continued to gather information on the people who were murdered. He was feeling hungry, so he went out to buy some noodles. But it was 3 a.m. in the morning and most of the shops were closed. Kaido started remembering when the policeman would come home late and how he would not have anything to eat, so they would go to the convenience store next to the theme park. So he decided to go there to see if it was still open, and if it was, to buy some noodles that he used to buy. He drove there, and to his surprise, it was still there and just like he remembered it. He brought the noodles and got on his bike and started to drive home. When driving home, he got a weird smell from the run-down theme park close to the store. He stopped and tried to understand the smell. It hit him then that the smell was of a human corpse. He gave a call to his team to come and investigate. Once they arrived, they investigated the entire theme park and found 2 dead bodies. They examined the bodies and found that they were murdered the same way as the other 2 bodies, but 2 bodies were killed, but one body was stabbed 2 times and in the heart and the other 5 times. Kaido went home and gathered even more information on the deaths and on the murderer, and had noticed that the murderer had some sort of pattern, but they hadn't discovered the entire pattern, and once they did, it would become easier to solve. So the next day, he shared the information with his team, and they said with this information with the team, and they said that he was most probably right. They suggested that they have a look at all the hidden, secret, run-down places covered places in the city to see if they find anything. So they did as expected, they found it. The last piece of the puzzle, the part that connected everything. They found two bodies in the gutter where no one would ever come due to the horrid smell. It had a huge barrier around it and was far away from the city. It was the perfect place to hide a body. As as they for these two bodies, they were they were murdered two in the same way. But one was stabbed 3 times in the heart and the other was stabbed 6 times in the heart. Looking at this, Skylar went back to the office and looked through it all and saw the pattern. 3 places on loop. Murder number marked by stabs, a lot by a crying girl. So to put this all together, the murderer first used the girl to allure the person, then drugged them, next stabbed them in the heart, killing them in a second. According to the number of stabs in was the number of the person they have killed. In this way, each person is killed in 3 specific places, and once the first 3 were killed in different places, instead of finding a new place for the next person, the murderer repeated the places. And they have used each place twice, meaning they have killed 2 people in the same place. And they have killed 6 people in total. So the 7th person was going to be killed in the forest. But that person was saved. Remember the guy from the news? He was going to be the 7th person who was going to be killed on Saturday night, the day of the party. Side note, if Kaido would follow the girl, wouldn't he end up dying? What do you think? Back to the story. So either the murderer would go back to the forest on Saturday to kill another 7th person, or would kill the 7th person in the rundown theme park. Kaido explained this to his team, and his team decided to keep a watch out for the murderer not only in the forest and the rundown theme park, but also in the gutter just in case. It's Saturday night and everyone is carefully and silently waiting for the murderer to arrive. With Kaido at the forest and the others at the theme park and also the gutter. And there at the forest, the sound of the crying girl is heard, and a man saying, "Wait!" And then out from the bushes appears a figure. A figure completely covered in black. Once Kaido saw it, he shot it with a drug, making it unconscious. They took it in a room and tied it to the chair and took off its mask in the middle of it. It was a middle-aged woman, around 40 to 50 years. Kaido felt like he saw this woman before, but he wasn't able to recognize her. So they decided to ask her why she did this all, and she did not reply. So they questioned her again, and she did not reply. So they questioned her again, and she did not reply. So they had to get violent with her, and in the end she finally replied to their question. She told them a story. When she was a little girl, she was left in a street and she cried and cried and cried until someone came. He took her home, dressed her up and made her dance for him. He made her dance day and night. He made her dance even until her feet were sore. He made her dance till she fainted. He wouldn't feed her or give her anything to drink. After a month, she became sick and puny. The man didn't care. He threw her out. She went back and continued crying. Another person came. He seemed nice. So she went with him and he fed her well and took care of her. Then one day he took her to a dark place where there were many girls and sold her over there. She was treated like trash, But there was one girl who took care of her and taught her how to read, write, count, and spell. Then that girl was taken away one day by a group of men, and she never came back. She never came back. She stopped eating and then she didn't look good, so they threw her out and put her in an orphanage. There she grew well and forgot all about her past. She graduated and got a job. Then, about 2 months ago, she heard a girl screaming, so she ran towards her. A man was taking the girl with her. In that moment, she remembered all about her past, and she had enough of people taking the girls on the streets and taking advantage of them, misusing them. She removed a knife and stabbed the man right in the heart. She felt at ease. She felt happy. She found it fun. She wanted to do it once more. So she decided whoever came behind this girl, she shall kill them. After telling Kaido and his team the story, she said, I think I have done enough, and I am willing to die. Please take care of the little girl. Thank you. She said this, accepting her fate. The next day, she had a trial and was sentenced to death. The case was solved, and as for the little girl, she was taken good care of and put in a good orphanage. Kaido was once again solved. Kaido had solved the case once again using his brilliant skills and mind. He also remembered where he saw the woman. It was the same woman who was being robbed, and the one who was saved by the policeman. Thank you.